Hola mi gente, MsMalcolmHughes here. Welcome back. Today we're doing a book review. We are reviewing Butterfly by Ashley Antoinette. For those of you who are unfamiliar, I have been reviewing the Ethics series, and Butterfly is the spin-off of the Ethics series. It is the story of Morgan Atkins, and we continue with her on her journey. Obviously, with all Ashley Antoinette books, in this series, we get updates on the other characters, but this is primarily Morgan Atkins' story and the next stage in her journey to self-identification and what her life will look like after the death of Messiah. First things first. I'm gonna start by giving a brief summary of the story, my pros and cons, and then if I think you should read the book. So we pick up with Morgan living in London with Bash. She has the twins, Yara and Masari, who are actually Messiah's kids, but they're presenting it to the world as if they are Morgan and Bash's kids. We kind of get light insights that things aren't great between Morgan and Bash's family, but she's grateful they provided her with an escape route from dealing with the death of Messiah and all the pain they're in. She got to go to London and escape and basically become a part of this royal family. So she continued to be kept in the caliber of luxury that she was accustomed to, maybe even higher. And she got to raise her kids away from all of the stresses that greeted her in Flint and with all of the pain and memories of Messiah. So that is essentially what the book is about, right? We watch her go from London back to Michigan, trying to grapple with what does all of this mean in light of missing Messiah, being back home, but her people are home. And what actually made her want to return back to Michigan is that her people met her in London. And by her people, I mean Arya, I mean Issa, I mean Meek. Arya is obviously her best friend. They dance together, stiletto gang, but Issa and Meek are Messiah's best friends, and when she sees them, it reminds her of aspects of herself that she's locked away. She's essentially been dealing with like postpartum in a daze, really just going through the motions with Bash and trying to show up the best she can for her children, understanding that she has them in what she thinks is a great situation. But once she sees Arya, Issa, Meek, it just reinvigorates aspects of herself, again, that she's locked away. And she knows it's time to get home, time to return to some aspect of normalcy for herself, right? She misses ethic, right? Her family is home back in Michigan. So that's the next stage of the book, right? Morgan returning to Michigan. But before that, what we find out is Messiah's alive. Now granted, I didn't cry when I read about him dying in the Ethics series. I almost did, but something in me, the way that she wrote it, the fact that there was nobody, they came to get him, he was there, suddenly he was gone, I kind of felt an inclination that like this might come back around later. I was still super sad because I was like, dang, we might have just lost a real one. But of course, come back around, Messiah has gone through some crazy surgery and he's still alive. Spoiler video, by the way. He's still alive, and obviously the one thing that Messiah wants more than anything else in the world is Morgan Atkins. So Messiah is healthy, right? His cancer is in remission. He's been working on his health. He's been secluded, and he's getting communication with Morgan via social media, which I think is bonkers, but he just wants to be in contact with her until he can get back to Flint. I'm gonna let that sit there. I'm gonna come back to that in a moment. But in returning, now we go back to Morgan. In returning to Michigan, she runs into Meek. And her and Meek have always had a chemistry. We kind of got a hint of that in the Ethic series, but obviously Meek is Messiah's best friend and Morgan is Messiah's woman. Neither one of them were ever going to touch that or even entertain the thought. But things are different now. And when Messiah was on his deathbed, he kind of gave Meek the go-ahead. He was like, and Meek was like, why me? And Messiah was like, because you look at her the way I look at her. Like, I want to break your jaw when I see the way you look at her. You see her how I see her. And this isn't why Meek is pursuing a friendship with her. He really just wants to make sure she's good, the kids, all of that. And it does start off as platonic. But hey, Meek, as described, Meek is more than a Meek is fine. He's like, he's Messiah's brother, so he has that aggression and that ruggedness of Messiah, but he's also the more tame, the more control, right? He has a mother who raised him, who really gave him a little bit more guidance. So he is super respectful, and we got hints of that in the Ethics series when we would get updates on Morgan. Right, so we then, I don't want to spoil everything. So we then go on this journey with a blossoming romance between Morgan and Meek. Let me tell y'all, I'm low-key mad that Messiah is alive, because the way that I'm feeling about Morgan and Meek, Morgan deserves an Meek. Meek is fire, just that dude, and he's able to meet her on every level. Like, I feel as if Messiah was able to meet her on young aggression. Like, he gave her what she needed at that stage in her life, but she can't grow with Messiah the way that he is, right? Meek is someone you could evolve with, grow with, plan a family with, right? He has that aggression and that energy as well, so she's always protected. But he also wants to let her be free, and Messiah really wants to, like, keep her to himself. Meek's like, go dance, be you. Like, I love to see you shine. And so I love that. And I actually prefer Meek for Morgan. But we continue on. Another aspect of this book that really comes through is we get to follow Arya and Issa. Like I said in my video about which actor should portray these characters, as I described Issa is the he's kind of the most loose cannon one of the bunch. They're all kind of loose cannons if you push them, but Issa is a I am that I am, right? Like, yeah. And so, but him and Arya hit it off, and their storyline in this book was so freaking cute. Ups and downs, right? Definitely peaks and valleys, but the progression and it's just young love and intensity. And Arya, I respect Arya's style, okay? When Issa does something that hurts her and damages her, you know, Morgan's like, we can go, we can cry about it, and Arya's like, that's your style, that's not mine, right? That's how you would handle it. He made me feel pain, I gotta make him feel pain. He gonna feel me. And the way she went about it, respect to the good sis Arya. I know that's right. So trying not to ruin the book for you all. I do want you all to be able to go read it, but just, that's what the book was about. So those are the storylines we really get to follow. And what makes the book really good is that these are the characters that I was always really invested in. Obviously, I really care about Ethic, Alani, and attachment to Ethic. But for me, it was always these people. It was Messiah, Morgan, Issa, Arya, Meek, right? Meek has really stepped up and become that guy. In these series, we get so much more of him. But that's the crew I really wanted to know a lot about. So what makes Butterfly so engaging and dynamic for me is that we do get updates on Ethic and Alani. Even Henny and Bella and Easy, but it focuses on the crew that I was always the most invested in. So pros of the book, that's one major pro. It focuses on the character and the crew I'm mainly invested in. You can definitely feel Ashley Antoinette maturing and growing as a writer. She says that this series changed her, and now that I've gone back and I'm reading Pride of Plan, which I don't know if I'm going to finish, talk about that later, in another video. But I could definitely see her maturation as a writer and her ability to be more expansive in her world building and character development, and even in her scenes of intimacy. Just really more, she writes it now in such a way that you are deeply emotionally invested in these characters, which I really appreciate it. Sometimes her books can be filled with a lot of trauma. I like that there wasn't so much trauma in this book. Really a good introduction, really setting the scene, and I found it really enjoyable. So those are the pros, right? If I had any cons, it would be, this isn't really a con, just a personal preference. I would have liked the last chapter to have been the first chapter of the next book instead of ending it on that note, but I see why she did it and it needed to happen. So I actually don't have any cons for this book. Definitely worth reading, worth checking out. On a scale of read now, read later, read when you have time, read it now. Read the Butterfly series now, absolutely. That's it for me, y'all. I am MsMalcolmHughes, the one who believes that books are sometimes better than people. Until the next one, please remember to give time, to be kind to each other, and to have the best day of your life on purpose. Peace, adabo, adios, ciao.